Good day, Minecraftians. Purple Mentat here, bringing you episode 48 of my Agrarian Skies Hardcore Quest Let's Play. This game pack by Jadedcat is available on the Feed the Beast launcher. Last time, I set up some systems to complete some quests for me, and checking in on leafy greens, I am at 48,948 lettuce submitted. Won't take much longer now with both of these fertilizers working almost full-time. Oh, accidentally picked up a bunch of saplings. So, as you can see, by the time it's not quite keeping up. I should probably set this up a little bit better. You know what? I have an idea for that. Instead of relying on the precision export bus to do the crafting, I'm just going to set this to move stacks. And I'm going to tell my system to create, I don't know, 10 stacks? Well, no. Each one can hold 9 stacks. So 18 stacks of industrial fertilizer. There we go. And that'll craft itself up fairly quickly. And then it'll all get stuffed into these fertilizers. And that'll get used up very fast. So, this should speed things along considerably. And I'll be able to hand this quest in by the end of the episode. I also set up the ritual for the calves, which is really cool and is moving things along. I don't have a ton of beef yet. It's still taking some time. But I'm getting there. I have over 600 spaghetti handed in. Today, I'm going to be working on more bees. Specifically, I want to complete the side quests that I've skipped over until now, and I want to start working on getting bees going just faster in general. It occurred to me that this genetic manipulation side quest, with it rewarding 20 alvary blocks, is enough to get things started and does not require any advanced bee components to create the items involved. So, we need inoculator, purifier, gene pool, and synthesizer. The easiest among those is the gene pool, which is made just with glass, gold, redstone, and a genetic machine from extra bees. This is where all of the difficulty in extra bees will come in because the genetics machines, they require iron ingots, a fair bit of them, Apiary machines, and these circuit boards. And the Apiary machines, those are made simply from copper, redstone, and sturdy casing. So that I can teach to my system right away. The circuit board, on the other hand, requires tin and redstone and a carpenter with a bucket of water to make each circuit board. And these do not stack. So I'm going to get this set up in the carpenter, and I'm going to teach my system how to create the genetics and Apiary machines so that I can do all of this a little bit more automatically. And I'll be back to show you that once I have it set up. So, owing to the fact that I have no intention of using extra bees as my primary genetics manipulation method, I intend to use Gendustry, I'm going to set about making these mostly by hand. The basic circuit board, I'm going to need one for each genetic machine that I need. The gene pool requires one genetic machine, and the inoculator, synthesizer, and purifier each require one advanced genetic machine, which is made from a genetic machine and an enhanced circuit board. So, I'm going to need at least 4 of the genetic machines, which, 1 bit of tin, surrounded by redstone like that. Let those process through, and as I said, they do not stack. Each one, oh, maybe they do stack now. They do. Fantastic. They never used to stack. So I'm going to let 4 of those process, and I have the materials in my inventory to make the final item. The enhanced circuit board is the same recipe except 3 bronze in the middle instead of tin. And while that processes, I can come over here, toss these in, and get my genetics machine. And then I can make my gene pool very simply like that. There's 1 item complete. I'm also going to teach my machine to make advanced genetic machines while I'm at it, because it's just that fast to teach a new recipe to the system. Come back over here, grab out my 3 enhanced circuit boards. Speed crafting, thanks to applied energistics. Gotta love it. Alright, make myself my 3 advanced genetics machines. Now I can craft the purifier, which requires 3 gas tiers. Kind of expensive, but luckily we have a very good gas spawning setup already. The inoculator, which uses 5 magma creams, which I do not have, but those are very easily created using some slime and some blaze powder. synthesizer uses 4 soul sand. I'll make that real quick before I return to the inoculator, because this guy also requires empty serums. An empty serum is made with glass panes, gold ingots. Oh, these require the royal jelly. I knew that there was a reason I wasn't doing this quite yet. Okay, so to advance this quest any further, I need royal jelly. I have most of this completed already, but to make the inoculator, I need the royal jelly. So you do have to get to those bees first. And to do that, we're actually going to upgrade the Mutatron, which currently has a whole lot of mutagen in it that I think I'm just going to lose. Let's see if I can pipe the mutagen out of there using a fluid duct before I just lose it entirely, because that would suck. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's just a little bit of redstone or glowstone, so it's practically free. Yeah, that didn't work. Okay. That's a shame, but not terrible. Goodbye, mutagen. So, I want to upgrade my Mutatron. To do that, I'm going to need a bunch of genetics processors, some nether quartz, one more of those power modules, and a whole bunch of bronze gears. My system already knows how to make most of that, which is helpful. Apparently I have not taught it how to make genetics processors. Why did I not do that? Alright, so I needed 2 more genetics processors, I believe. Yes. And a power module. I did not teach it how to make a power module? Well, that's just silly. I think I decided that I wasn't going to need very many of them, when in fact I am. Or at least I needed that one. I'll get at the rest of the recipes that it's going to need to know eventually, sometime in between episodes. But there we go, the advanced Mutatron. And the reason you want to use the advanced Mutatron is as you move up bees, you end up with multiple potential outcomes per recipe. For example, well, I'll show you in just a moment. When I combine the meadows and the forest bees... Oh, wow, that filled up fast. If I show the uses of a meadows princess, forests and meadows can only produce common. I mean, meadows and a lot of things can produce common, but that's the only thing it can produce. However, if I start looking at, for example, common bees and what they can make, when a common bee is combined with a cultivated bee, you'll see that it has a 10% chance of producing a noble and a 10% chance of producing a diligent bee. Using the advanced Mutatron allows you to choose what outcome you get from your genetics experiments. Now, I have, not in there, but over here, I have an extra Meadows Queen that I have bred up using my industrial apiary. Actually, I have a number of extra Meadows Princesses, which is fantastic. And I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to grab one of these common drones that I have a ton of out of these guys. This has just been light upgrade, seal upgrade, automation upgrade, if you remember, so that I keep putting the princesses back in, generating a whole bunch of honeycombs, a bunch of extra drones, and occasionally some extra princesses, which have been useful. So into the advanced Mutatron goes my genetics labware again, my Meadows Princess, and my common drone. And now I get to choose what do I want it to make. Well, I want to combine Meadows with common to get cultivated, because that's the next step up the chain. So let's get a cultivated queen. And I'm going to toss that into one of the apiaries and start that moving and producing me more drones and princesses. I want to wait until one of these finishes, though. So I'm going to pick that one, and I'm going to pull the automation upgrade out of it and just wait for it to finish off. Won't be much longer now. Now, I'm going to want, actually, a second cultivated princess because I'm going to rush this a bit. And I have a couple cultivated princesses that I received from quest rewards. I'm just going to use those up right now because I figure that there's no sense in not using what I have. Either that or I have a handful of common princesses. That's a good idea too. So I'm going to grab 2 common princesses, and I'm going to grab the 2 of the cultivated drones that I have. One of these I'm going to turn into, if I put in the common princess and the cultivated drone, a diligent queen. Now, to get more cultivated drones or even just more cultivated princesses, all you need to do is put things through and cycle them enough times to get the extras. Like, you're guaranteed to get more more princesses and more drones if you just let them run through their life cycle multiple times. Diligent queen plus a cultivated would... Oh, it's a queen. I can't put it back in there. Right. So I'm going to have to cycle these guys through. I'm going to need to build myself some more apiaries. Luckily, I taught my system how to make that. There we go. Make myself a noble drone. These are the next step along the line to being able to produce alvary blocks myself. The noble and the diligent. You use diligent with cultivated to create unweary, and then you use the unweary with the diligent to create industrious. Being able to guarantee purebred results like this is fantastically useful. This is just an amazing difference. So I'm going to set up a bunch more apiaries with a whole bunch more power and everything in this area so that I can get all of these bees working at the same time. Back soon. One thing of note, when you are setting up industrial apiaries and you're putting in upgrades, the power costs, the energy consumption is multiplicative. For example, if I toss my noble queen in there, it'll tell me that energy required is 20 RF per tick. If I put in the seal upgrade, which requires an extra 5% energy consumption, or the light upgrade, which does the same, it is now telling me it is 21 RF per tick. If it were additive, when I added an automation upgrade, which increases energy consumption by 10%, it would end up at 23 RF per tick. But instead, with the multiplicative, it ends up at 23.1 RF per tick. So basically, instead of a 5% and a 10% increasing the amount by 15%, that 5% and 10% together increase the energy consumption by 15.5%. And then if I add another 5% on top of that, instead of it increasing it by a total of 20%, it increases it by a total of 21.275%, which is why we end up with 24.3 RF per tick instead of a simple 24 RF per tick. So the more upgrades you add, the more expensive things get. If you start putting on a ton of production upgrades at an extra 20% energy consumption per upgrade with a max of 8, you would end up with something like 430% power instead of 260%. However, the production percentage on that is also multiplicative. So these industrial apiaries will end up with crazy levels of production very easily. All right, now I've got everything producing. I'm going to let these guys run through, and I'm going to grab some more apiaries, get a few more bees set up, and show you what's next. All right, folks, this is what I have so far, just to let you know where I'm at. I have set up some labels on my apiary so I can keep track of what's what. I have my last common queen, well, my last extra common queen over here, finishing out its lifespan in this industrial apiary, which I need to give the seal and the light upgrade, just in case. And I have an extra common princess that's just hanging out in my inventory. So, I have my meadows princesses, my meadows queens, my meadows bees set up to constantly cycle and create more and more goodies for me. I have my commons doing the same thing, and my cultivated, my diligent, and my noble. All of them are making me more and more honeycombs and more drones and more princesses. Now, I'm going to set up automation for these things so that I don't have to constantly move honeycombs around by hand. If I give this impulse item duct the ability to pump, it will pull out from here and dump into the hopper. For example, if I take a look at the common, there's 28 honeycomb in there. There are 39 in that stack. I can do the same thing. And it'll take a moment, and there we are. I have the final item duct here on dense mode, pumping into this crystal chest, so that any extra princesses that get produced should end up going into there. I believe that if I get more than 64 drones into an industrial apiary, I end up losing the extras. I have not noticed any drones building up in the system so far, but I could be wrong. Now, All of these are pumping honeycombs into this hopper, which is feeding into this centrifuge. However, the centrifuge is filling up now. So to keep it running, I'm going to pump out of the centrifuge and into my applied energistic system, my ME network. This will keep me going for a while. I should be pretty good to work through most of what these guys can produce using just the one centrifuge for now. Later on, I will need to build a more extensive centrifuging system to get everything out that I can out of these bees. Yeah, looks like I already got another cultivated princess. Fantastic. So now I will be gaining large numbers of cultivated, noble, diligent, common, and meadows products over time, including the princesses that they produce. And these apiaries, their inventories will stay clean, and it will just run all the time with no further interaction needed for me besides making sure that I keep power going. These are all of the other extra guaranteed hives that I've gotten from quests so far, which are 9 tropical hives and 5 marshy hives. Going to do a quick check on my power. I don't know why cyanide's going into that. It shouldn't be going in there at all. I'll have to sort out my power sometime soon. And I have tons of yellorium still, so I'm in a good place on power. I am still not using any significant fraction of what my system can produce. I am going at maybe 60% capacity. Later on, if I need more power, I will set up turbines to increase the efficiency of this thing even further. At the moment, though, honestly, I don't need that kind of efficiency. I'm doing pretty good, and it's just not exactly a waste of time, but not the best use of time either. All right, this guy finished up, so I can toss my extras into here, and I have another common princess that I can use. So what I'm going to do, because I'm generating extra cultivated at the moment, I'm going to use that cultivated and that common. And I'm going to produce first a noble queen, which I'm going to run through the system one time. And then I'm going to combine the noble princess that comes out of it with a cultivated drone. And that should put me in a position where I have the next step up from noble, which I can run through exactly one time, and be able to make the majestic bees, which will get me the royal jelly that I need. So I'm going to let this process through, and I'll show you what the next step is. Also, if I wanted to really speed this process along, and I do because, you know, why not? I can grab another upgrade. So the upgrade that'll speed this along even further is the lifespan upgrade. Whoops. As you can see, it causes a 33% reduction in the lifespan of a drone. It uses an upgrade frame and some fermented spider eyes. I'm going to make myself 4 of these. And I'm going to toss all of them into the same industrial apiary. And that way I will be at the immediate instant 1-tick death that I was getting out of Oblivion frames. However, I will also be at 27 RF per tick. Now, if I wanted to get just a ton of noble drones, I could very easily toss the automation upgrade in there, and it would push through just about every tick, creating more and more drones, which would be fantastic. However, my approach to getting lots and lots of drones, that was not quite as fast as I wanted it to be, but that's okay. It'll still take a little bit of time, I suppose. That 33% is probably multiplicative as well. And you'd think that minus 33% multiplicative would be a really good thing, but it doesn't work that way. We end up at about 20% lifespan, because that's just the way these things work. Percentages, when you get into multiplication, end up weird, and our brains are not really well designed to work with them by default. It's taken me a lot of time to adapt my thinking to actually feel that that's logical. All right, so I'm going to let these process, and I'll be back briefly. Alrighty, folks, my noble queen has finished her lifespan, and I now have a noble princess and 2 noble drones. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to make sure that things are working. They are. I'm going to grab myself one of my extra cultivated princesses, and I don't have any extra cultivated drones hanging around in there, but I do in here. And I'm going to grab 1 cultivated drone. I'm going to go back to my advanced Mutatron. Oh, I already have a cultivated drone in there. Look at that. So I'm going to use the noble princess with the cultivated drone to get myself that particular type. And I'm going to take a diligent drone out of here to use with my cultivated princess, because this gets me the majestic queen. So noble plus cultivated equals majestic, and diligent plus cultivated equals unweary. These two bees will lead me further down the path and allow me to create some advanced bee products, but not on their own. I actually need to go one step further, as the unweary will need to be combined with the diligent to create industrious, which means that I'm going to need more than one of these unweary bees if I want to be able to come back and use them again. And given that I can create leaden and lustered bees out of them, I'm definitely going to want to keep at least some unweary drones around. Also, I tend to like to... Oh, you're set up wrong. Actually, these are in the wrong apiary is the problem. So I have a whole set of production style apiaries. And then over here, I have a couple of what I'm going to refer to as experimental apiaries. This is where I'm going to have my 4 lifespan upgrades in these two, and no automation. Also, I set up a blacklist on this pipe to prevent princesses and drones from going into the hopper, and I'm hoping that with using metadata and using OR dictionary, it will stop all of the princesses and drones. But we shall see, given time. So if I'm lucky, this will get me some extra princesses for unweary and for majestic. Even if it does not, however, it will get me extra drones, and I can use those drones with a couple of more steps of breeding to make myself better bees. So let me get together an entire full chain to show you how to take a princess from, well, let's say we'll go straight from meadows all the way up to Imperial. Back soon. All right, now that my majestic and unweary have produced one generation. What's going on here? Ah, those are in the way. I can get these labeled. And, oh good, I did label it right. I would be sad if I had not. And I can show you the full breeding chain as soon as I get a little bit more redstone. That should be more than enough. This will last me a while. Yes. I am burning through massive amounts of energy, and my reactor barely notices. I'm using at most about 65% of its capacity at the moment. Maybe a little more than that. Yeah. Pretty fantastic. Anyway, using the advanced Mutatron, if I put in the meadows with the forest, I have the option of going for the common queen or the leperine queen, which the leperine queen is kind of neat. It produces silky combs and eggs. Silky combs can be centrifuged to get silky propolis, which can be centrifuged to get silk wisps, which are a very important part of forestry and are even useful in Gendustry for the civ upgrades. So I'll definitely be making those later. Right now, I'm showing you how to get your Imperial bee. So you combine a meadows with a forest to get a common. Every time you do, you're going to get a queen. You're going to need to run that queen through something to get it to finish its life cycle. I'm going to use the Oblivion Frame Apiary here because it's fast. Only reason. And I can set it up right here. Back in 30 seconds. After you have your common princess, you dump that in there with your cultivated drone and you select noble. And then when you have your noble princess, you put it in there with the majestic drone and you get the Imperial queen. Now the great thing about the Imperial bees is they are used to produce royal jelly. They also have some interesting breeding options. For example, you can make diamond bees, and also you can get the draconic bees that produce those dragon eggs. So a lot of good things come out of Imperial bees. These are going to get a permanent home in the system. We'll put it right here. And this will also be one of the first ones that I want to Why is there a cultivated print? Oh, you know what? I accidentally had these aiming inward for a bit, so okay. All of them are empty. So this is also going to be the first ones that will get the production upgrades, because the production upgrades require the royal jelly. So if I increase my production on the Imperial bees, I will get more royal jelly faster. Does not appear to be working. Oh, but I am getting the regeneration effect. That's the other fun thing that Imperial bees do. There we are. Now they're definitely working. So Imperial bees will give regeneration to any players who happen to be around. Just because they're bees and that's what they do. It's pretty fun. So, now that I've got my Imperial bees working, and I should be getting some royal jelly out of them sometime soon, let's take a look at the quests for bees. As mentioned earlier, the next proper quest that I'm supposed to be able to complete is the genetic control, where I need to make an imprinter and a sampler. That shouldn't be a problem with the kind of resources I have. Look up the recipe for some genetic... Ooh, transposer and replicator too, huh? So the imprinter uses processor, bee receptacles, power modules, all kinds of good stuff. Let's get bronze gears. How many power modules did this need? Or do I even know how to make power modules yet? No. Alright, you know what? I'm sick of this. Let me teach all of these recipes to my system and be right back. Alright, now that I have taught my system how to make the genetics processor, the power module, the genetic imprinter, and the genetic sampler, I'm going to make sure that this is not a crafting quest. It is a submission quest. I have to consume the machines. Fantastic. That means that I can let my AE system autocraft them for me and not have to worry about all of the steps in between. One imprinter, one sampler, one quest, hand it in. Now I need lab implements. I need to create blank gene samples, genetic templates, genetics labware, and empty serums. Well, if I remember correctly, the empty serum is the tough part. Yes, those come from extra bees. They needed the royal jelly. Boy, I'm glad I looked into this. Luckily, I have just the one royal jelly that I needed in my hopper. And now I'm going to tell it to never put royal jelly in the hopper again. There's going to be a number of items that end up going that direction that I need to then send into... I'm going to need to manually blacklist a lot of the other optional bee production items. So, I'm going to need empty serums. Those are very simple to make. They just require a bit of royal jelly. Now, the question is, do I want to finish this quest first, or do I want to finish the genetic manipulation too? Because all I'm short for the inoculator is that royal jelly. So, let's make the inoculator. What happened there? Probably my complete inability to spell happened there. Sure did. Okay. We're going to make the inoculator first. There we are. Or not. Oh, it needs glass panes. Did I never teach this how to make glass panes? Well, that was silly. It's one of the most used recipes ever. Bunch of glass panes. And one inoculator. Awesome. Now I can hand in this quest, but I have just enough room for it. So I can claim that reward. I'm going to toss my... Well, I'm going to toss my inoculator in there. And I'm going to clean out my inventory. Eat this heart. There we go. Now, completing genetic manipulation 2 gives me all the materials I really need to complete the Alvary's quest. Because I have an alvary. Let's see. What else do I have? Frame housing? I need a fan, a heater, a lighting, and a frame housing. So I can submit the alvary and the frame housing right now. Now I just need the lighting, the heater, and the fan. And these are made from alvary blocks with fairly simple to acquire materials. Glowstone dust, iron, and stone and iron. However, they all use these electron tubes. In fact, they all use golden electron tubes, which I'm going to need to create a whole new block to make. The golden electron tubes are created in the thermionic fabricator. And the thermionic fabricator is a pretty simple device. I need casing. And I'm going to need some glass to make this guy work. There we go. So the thermionic fabricator, when it gets hooked up to power, uses some of that power to basically heat itself. And then you can put some glass in there into that slot. Once it gets above that particular line of heat, the glass will get melted down into liquid glass. To make the golden electron tubes that I need will require just gold and redstone in the proper pattern. So I'm going to grab a stack of gold and a stack of redstone. And I'm going to clean up my inventory and be right back. Alright, so I opened up that reward bag that I got from the quest, and I received a not so good reward. That's a full heart, but if I hold shift for more info, it says it's a rotten heart, do not eat. Yep, little bit of a troll. Jaded's still trying to steal my lives. Trash that before I accidentally eat it. Alright. In the thermionic fabricator, whoops, you definitely don't want to do it like that. Gold and redstone will create electron tubes. And you can put more gold and more redstone in there to create more of the electron tubes. I'm going to need fan, heater, lighting. I believe just 4 of the tubes. 1 for lighting, 1 for the fan, 2 for the heater. Fantastic. And now I'm actually going to tear down that thermionic fabricator because it eats power constantly and I don't need any more of those on my power network. Okay. So if I toss my electron tubes and 3 alvary blocks into my system, that should enable me to very simply create the lighting, the fan, there we go. That was odd. And the heater. That was really not happy with that particular operation. And now I can hand in my alvearies, and I can get 16 alvearies, or I can get a reward bag. I will also get 64 honeycombs, a tropical drone, and a tropical princess, and a quarter of a heart. I'm not going to be using alvearies. Gendustry industrial apiaries will do more for me than the alvearies will. So let me just get these people deposited where they belong. No more royal jelly just yet. No more extra Imperial princesses either. Okay. Next step along that side quest, work harder. It wants an untreated frame, an impregnated frame, and a soul frame. And this will get me ender princesses and ender bees and monastic bees, both of which are extremely useful. It will also get me either a reward bag or a free indexer. And the indexer is pretty cool. So, to make the frames, let's open the greater reward bag that I got. 16 blackberry seeds. It claims to be a useful reward, but I don't believe it. Alright. You remember how to make the frames. You just use some of these impregnated sticks. I'm going to need 16 of them. Take these with me over here. The 3 frames that I need are the untreated, which is just sticks and string. The impregnated, which is the impregnated sticks and string. And the soul frame from Extra Bees, which is soul sand in an impregnated frame. And these would have various effects on the bees in either your apiaries or with frame housings, your alvearies. Submit those. And I'm going to collect the indexer. Well, let me see what the indexer costs. A diamond Apiary machine. Yeah, you know what? It's just a pain in the butt to make it, and I might as well grab one because it'll be useful to have. Eat my heart. 83 lives. And I'm going to set my indexer down over here. The indexer is basically a bee storage chest. It can hold up to 1,000 bees, which can be sorted by species or gender. So if I toss in my ender and monastic bees, there we go. If I sort by species, it will group the enders and the monastic together. If I sort by type, it will group the princesses and the drones together. And if I leave it unsorted, well, it's a mess. Now, the problem with the indexer is you really want to wait until you get your final destination for bees set up, because if you get, you know, a couple of 100 bees in there, you're not going to be able to easily remove them. So we're going to toss that into the bee chest for the time being, and we will make use of it once I have a final home for these bees. Now, monastic princesses, well, monastic bees in general, can be used to make secluded, hermitic, and pupil bees, all of which are very useful. The hermitic bees produce mellow combs and are also used to make spectral and spatial bees, which produce certus, quartz, and other cool stuff. See? Yeah. It's just a really fantastic line of bees. The ender bees, on the other hand, on their own produce mysterious combs, which can get you pulsating propolis, which can be combined into pulsating mesh, and enough pulsating mesh can be combined into an ender pearl. They can also be used to make better bees: spectral, phantasmal, abnormal, and, best of all, the jaded bee, which is a tribute to the founder of this pack, Jadedcat, because she was the one that went through and bred all of the bees by hand without cool Gendustry hackiness. We'll go into how to use those bees and what I'm going to do with them another time. For right now, let me check the time. Yep, I have blown right past my time frame once again. So that's going to be all of the bees for today. Tomorrow, I'm going to build myself a bit of a home for these. I know I said I wanted to continue on with building the house, but this is just going to have to wait. In the next aesthetic episode tomorrow, I want to build a permanent home for my bees, and I want to move everything over there. And I've got some interesting ideas on exactly what that's going to look like. I'm going to have a bit of a genetics laboratory, or a genetics laboratory. I'm not sure which. So, thank you very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode and the series at large. If you have, please like, comment, and share the video with your friends. Also, the texture pack poll is still ongoing. Some strange things happened with the Sortex pack, and I'm not entirely certain if this invalidates things or not. While I was watching the poll results one day, 100 votes exactly for Sortex came in about 60-second time period. I think that's maybe someone's trying to manipulate the results. In any case, even with that 100 votes, Sortex has still failed to achieve the majority that I said I was going to be asking for. As it is at this time of recording Thursday, this video will be going up Friday morning, and at midnight on the day that this midnight Eastern on the day that this video goes up, the poll will be finished and I will be tallying the results. See you next time.